Hey everyone, welcome back to the Phase podcast. In this episode, I chat to Rob Bryan, a specialist in employment law and long-time supporter of our work at Phase. Rob shares his wisdom and stories that will hopefully be useful for any of you listeners who are about to head off to university or into the world of work. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Good afternoon, Rob. It's great to have you on the Phase podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, and it's James. It's lovely to meet with you, and preparing for this. Yeah, I had some really good thoughts. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. Before we go any further, do you mind if I ask you some quick fire questions just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So first off, what is your favorite book?
Favorite book? The last book I actually read was by Peter Kay, the comedian. Had me in stitches. Yeah, not very serious at all, but yeah, a comedy book. That's good for me to. Don't have a lot of spare time, so for me, I want to keep it light.
Nice. And favorite film, is that a comedy as well or something on a slightly different?
Film, then maybe a bit more profound.
Yeah.
So I would say Apollo 13.
Oh, I've seen that film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Apollo 13, and I use it sometimes for management training videos.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, about how optimal teams can work, and it's a great example of that.
I do find it a little bit scary though. I'm not
Oh,
gonna lie.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm not very good with horror films, so that's about the limit
yeah.
of scary for me. What's your favorite food or favorite meal?
Favorite meal? It's gotta be Italian. It's gotta be Italian food. Bit of a passion for things Italian, actually. It's
Mm,
our holiday venues and where we go, and yeah, anything Italian.
nice. So yeah, I didn't used to like pasta. Fun
Okay.
fact about me, but my wife has convinced me that pasta is amazing, and I do now like pasta quite a lot. So I am on the Italian food as
Yeah.
well. What's your favorite time of the year?
Time of the year? Yeah, good point. Autumn's got something about it. If I take my camera out and I'm looking at some landscapes, that's the best time of year to be out there. The colours, yeah, that's a bit profound because in order to get that beauty of the colours, we have
Mm,
to have death and recycling. So it's a
yeah,
bit of a weird thing. Spring's got optimism in it, but
yeah.
yeah, you've got to go through some pain to get to autumn.
I'm a big fan of autumn too. I think just I don't like hot weather, so the fact that it's that temperate,
Yeah,
not too cold, not too hot, but also the nice leaves. Also, looking forward to Christmas. The anticipation of
oh,
Christmas for
completely.
me,
Yeah,
I love that. And then, do you have a favorite pastime or hobby? We've just been speaking about football,
yeah.
but would you say that football is your favorite pastime or something
Ah,
something else?
it's a good point. Well, I like doing a bit of cycling. I've done that,
Yeah.
and I think you mentioned some marathons. So I've actually done some marathons. It might not look like it at the moment, but I have done some marathons too. Yeah, but a bit of running, keeping fit
Yeah.
is for me actually exercise and allows me to clear my head.
Yeah.
So if I've got lots on at work and things are complex, or even sometimes I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, it's a good chance to for me to reset.
Mm.
So yeah, I do like to get out there and run.
Great. And my final question before we kind of dive into today's topic is, do you have a particular hero or role model that you really look up to?
A hero role model. It's difficult because there isn't one.
Yeah,
There just
it's
isn't
hard to
one.
pick one.
So at different times, I think I've been really blessed in being placed in front of some people and some mentors. So not actually film stars or famous people or that
Mm.
sort of thing, but real role models of people that have shown interest in me
Yeah.
and helped me and so my real life heroes really rather than Marvel, if you know what I mean.
I think that's a really good answer because I think the same would be true for me really. If I answer that question, I suppose honestly, is that the people that have had the biggest impact on me are the
Yeah,
people that I actually know
yeah,
who
sure.
have helped me out rather than people that I look up to.
Yeah.
So next question for you, Rob, is could you explain in as simple terms as possible what do you do for a living?
It's a really good question 'cause, it basically, I run a company, and our company supports employers. We don't support employees, but we support employers in, matters of employment law and disputes and problems in the workplace. Um, so yeah, it's a job that it's got a strange title. What do I do? I run a business. I'm a business owner. I deliver services, so I'm an employment law consultant, and I run a team of people. So I'm a manager. So I'm a whole mix of different things.
Great. That was a brilliant answer, Rob. But the way you summarised that into just a minute or so, brilliant. So my hope today would be that any young people listening to this, perhaps if you're coming towards the end of sixth form, you're looking to
Mm,
go into an MVQ, an apprenticeship, university, into the workplace, that Rob will have lots of wisdom and experience to kind of share about work. And my first question for you, Rob, is actually a really simple one, but
mhm.
probably not a simple
Yeah.
answer. I've got all the questions today. Hopefully, you've got all the answers. What is work and what
Uh,
role does it play?
well, it's fascinating because work is not a single thing. It's not something that um, is easy to define.
Mm,
So there's as many different definitions of success at work as there are people.
mm,
Okay, so it means different things to different people,
mm,
and work will mean different things at different times of life. So typically, at the start of our working careers, it's about finding something we can do, like, and progress with.
mm,
Later on, it can become something else, and actually, towards the end of our working life, it might even take on a very different phase. So from my experiences, work is more likely nowadays to be different chunks of different jobs at different
mm.
times,
Yeah, yeah.
rather than one single thing where we say, this is my work for life. It could be. It could be that you can leave university and you
Mm,
can follow a vocation and do that until the end of your working life.
mm,
But in my experience, it tends to be more fragmented than that.
mm. And lots of people probably think of work as a means to an end, as a way to make money to pay the bills. Do you think it's more than that?
Well, I certainly think there's a flaw, there's a minimum requirement
Mm.
that for most people, work will be driven by a need, perhaps, to put food on the table, a
Yeah, of
roof over
course.
your head. I do get that, but I do believe work can be so much more.
Mm,
So right now, if I was thinking about a university choice or vocational training course or whatever, do you know, I'd be really excited about what today can offer. And I would look at the world as a fantastic world of work as a fantastic opportunity to really explore what I would be capable of doing, what I might want to do, what I find that I could be excited about. And there's so many opportunities out there. The difficulty is finding the right one for you.
mm. And I love that point you made in your first answer, that there's as many ways, or many ways of looking at success in work as there are people, because success in work is individual. And I think perhaps lots of young people will look at what their mum and dad have done, or look at what their friends want to do, and perhaps see that the job title that they're aspiring to is almost like a status symbol,
Mm,
or a means of measuring their value. And I think it's perhaps really important to see that work is a lot more than that.
yeah. James, it's so true what you say there. And um, there was some research done a few years ago, and in the UK, from around 1997 through to about 2010, the government's policy for education was very much to promote going into higher education
Mm,
and promoting every way of doing that. Um, and lots and lots of degree courses were around, and you could almost find some quite obscure topics for degrees, and it was seen as if there was a status attached to higher
mm,
education, and if you didn't have a degree, you were in some ways on the second class
mm,
coach of the train. Um, and anyway, the research looked at what sort of factors determined or were likely to determine um, people going into the
mm,
best jobs or succeeding at work. And remarkably, it actually found that it wasn't about the wealth of the parents or
mm,
actually the town they were in, but it had got a lot to do with the exposure and aspiration to work of particular kinds. So it actually found that who your parents associated it or what your parents did would color what you thought work was about, what was possible for you because of what you saw. That's also extended for someone uh, the groups from ethnic minorities who couldn't visualize that there would be someone that looked like them doing a
mm,
job of a certain type, or there were roles that might stereotypically more favoured men and women,
Mm.
and visualising that it was possible, and so knowing and seeing that someone could do a particular job
Mm.
made a huge difference in this research to whether someone could follow a career aspiration and career goal.
Mm.
It started quite early and subconsciously. It was sort of a seed was sown about your exposure to what work was about, and could you see yourself as an airline pilot,
Yeah.
as a doctor, as a solicitor, um, a train driver, whatever it would be.
Mm.
Did you know someone that had done that job? A bit of a long answer.
No, but that's absolutely fascinating, and I think there's a really important lesson from that is that, like, don't box yourself in.
Yeah,
If you're, wherever you come from, whatever background you have, is just because you haven't seen someone like you do what you want to do, don't let that stop you.
yeah.
And even just personally for me, that really resonated because people that listen to the podcast probably won't know this, but before I became a schools worker at FaZe and now lead our primary school programs, I used to work in a warehouse, and that was I knew quite a lot of friends that did similar jobs, and then I actually found faith and became a Christian like 5 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years ago. And actually, lots of my new whole group of friends and people that I spent time around did jobs like youth
Mm,
workers
mm,
or did
mm.
jobs where they cared for people, and suddenly that became a real possibility for me. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting what you say about who you surround yourself with and
yeah,
what you see has a real impact on what you think you're
yeah.
capable of doing. I think it's
Absolutely.
an amazing lesson to take away.
An example of my nephew, who like most people, he went into a sixth form. He was choosing his options, and he had this work experience.
Mm.
It came around, and work experience was sort of see if you know anyone that can get you into a company. So
Basically, yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was no real plan to it, and if it was really dangerous, could they get some insurance to sort of cover for what you did?
Mm.
So, anyway, Guy got 2 work experiences, and the first one was at the Birmingham Hippodrome because he was interested in a bit of drama and everything else, and into sound and lighting and everything else. And his work experience was for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
He worked with the lighting crew, and I think they had him dangling from the rack or something at the Birmingham.
Sounds like fun.
And his second work experience was at Heathrow Airport. And through a contact actually of my sister's, he got an interest in aviation and planes, and he went down to Heathrow Airport and he visited air traffic control. And in the 2 weeks, he got to drive a Land Rover around the perimeter of Heathrow. And crucially, he had the first Airbus 380 that
Mm.
arrived in Heathrow, and he was invited to go and see it. And one of the special things about this aircraft at the time is they were doing lots of tests. And on day 3 of his work experience, he actually took some photographs of his A380 and sent them to me. He said, Uncle, don't tell anyone you got this. You'll get me fired. I can't send you this." But he did anyway. And the pilot, the test pilot of the aircraft said to Guy, "What are you doing?" He says, "We're on a work experience." He said, "Would you like to come up in the Airbus 380?" He said, "Well, yeah, of course I would, like this." And so he got signed off for the afternoon,
Mm.
and they took this Airbus from Heathrow up to Scotland. They did some landings in Dundee and came back, and he sat in the jump seat of
Wow.
this 380. The rest of the story is he is an airline pilot. He's a captain on the line for
Wow.
EasyJet, and also he trains in the sim as well, in motion sim. So
Mm.
from actually an opportunity of don't go to the lighting in Birmingham Hippodrome, have a look at
I
Heathrow.
look at Heathrow. Wow. And yeah, just so interesting that actually when we get exposed to stuff, it suddenly becomes so interested in it.
Yeah,
And it's such a shame that some people, maybe just a really important lesson to be aware of, just because you haven't been exposed to
mhm,
something, doesn't mean that you can't do it
yeah,
or that it can't be a dream of yours.
yeah.
Uh, so you obviously work with lots of employers, Rob. What would
Mm,
you say, kind of moving on a little bit, are some of the key both skills and also kind of underlying qualities that employers are looking for when they're looking to
mm.
employ people?
Most jobs have got 2 facets to them.
Yeah.
There'll be some sort of technical component, some skills, some competencies, some knowledge,
Mm.
and there'll be another part of the job which is about interaction,
Mm.
about maybe problem solving, analytical decision making,
Mm.
perhaps, um, Some work is relational and it
Mm.
requires persuasiveness and interaction. And these qualities are actually really hard for employers to find.
Mm.
Okay, so they can only work on the evidence that
Mm.
they come across. And in that respect, it's important for you guys who are trying to go into the world of work
Mm.
to actually give employers the evidence they're looking for. Okay, but what will happen in reality, and it's a brutal reality, if there's a CV from a number of people and they can all do the job,
Mm.
the choice will be who's the interesting one. Okay,
Mm.
who is the interesting one? If everything else is equal,
Yeah.
the same degree has been obtained, or the same MVQ, or the same qualification.
Yeah.
Where's the underlying experience? What's that? What else has that person done?
Mm.
What are the other factors? Have they taken an initiative in doing something? Have they experienced? Have they the world? Have they
Mm.
travelled? What's their explanation of the world? What's their aspiration? Do they seem like someone that wants to learn, wants to engage?
Yeah.
And so there's an authenticity in that
Mm.
that I would say nowadays, be yourself with an employer.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Take all of you in.
Mm.
And it's difficult because you're sort of thinking, "Oh, I'm nervous about an interview or a process and everything else." But absolutely be prepared to take the whole of you into
Mm.
an interview and a discussion. Anyone can see your CV
Yeah.
qualifications,
Mm.
but who's the real you?
Mm. Is this someone that's just followed through with the path that was put in front of them? Have they done their
Yeah,
GCSEs, the A levels, gone to university,
yeah,
and that's that? Or can I see some personality in
yeah.
there? So I would say one maybe perhaps good terminology for this is almost like those hard and soft skills.
Mm,
So you can see hard skills and the knowledge that someone has in order to be able to do a job. So going back to being an airline pilot,
yep,
your nephew has obviously trained to be a pilot. They can fly a plane. It's
yeah.
a good hard skill to have as a pilot, isn't it?
It is, but it wouldn't make you necessarily a good trainer.
Exactly, as
Uh,
though
yeah,
or a good co-pilot.
yeah,
And so those
yeah.
soft skills that, perhaps you develop when you go and do Duke of Edinburgh or you
Mhm.
volunteer, like something we do at FaZe is we, give year 12 students the opportunity to come and volunteer with us and lead some workshops for year 5 students. And
Yeah,
through that, our hope is that they gain so many soft skills that, like, how do you communicate with people? What impact do you have when you step into a room?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think some of that extra stuff that isn't just following your path, going through education,
yeah.
yes, your education is so important and it'll give you all those hard skills that are foundational for being able to do a job. But actually, those soft skills are so, so key as well.
It's absolutely huge, and I think some of the work that you've got, you have a scenario where um, some of the sixth form students can actually present to
Mm,
younger
yeah,
pupils, and one of the things about presenting a topic, a bit like us talking now, is
yeah,
you have to give some thought to it.
yeah,
Okay, so before today, we sort of exchanged a few emails and
yeah.
we got some thoughts. But expressing those thoughts,
Mm,
condensing those thoughts and putting them together is a real cathartic process.
mm,
So when you have a scenario of explaining something or tutoring or teaching something, you have to really know a topic in order to do that.
mm.
But it's interesting. I mean, my first degree actually was 40 years ago. So my first degree was a music degree.
Wow.
I was a budding trumpet player.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did a music degree, and actually, if you saw my letterhead, you'll see there's a few degrees, but my music degree isn't on it.
Mm,
Okay, so actually, the first degree was 40 years ago,
mm,
but after getting that degree and graduating and entering the world of work, I went on and got 3 more degrees, okay? So, definitely I'd say to this audience, what you set out to be, that choice you make,
mm.
your UCAS form, you wherever you go, and you think it's everything at that time.
Yeah.
I did leaving home, I thought it was absolutely everything, but it was literally a stepping stone to
Mm,
other things. Actually, literally a stepping stone. Um, but you'd say, well, what does a music degree give me? Well, it means there's some things in that. I had to be a good listener. I had to know about timing. I had to be able to perform or project something. That has stayed with me through every single part of my working life. I actually left the music degree. I went to work in a warehouse, which I think is a
yeah,
bit.
we have that in common.
We had
Yeah.
that discussion.
Yeah.
So I was the graduate, and I didn't live the dream straight away. I went
Mm.
to work in a warehouse.
And I think that's important as well, just that whatever you're doing currently, if you're a young person that's perhaps just left school and doesn't quite know what they're doing next, like, don't be defined by that. We've already said that it's
Yeah,
important not to be
yeah,
defined by your job title, but just be like we've both experienced that actually your job role can change massively in a very short space of
yeah,
time. So if you're in a place where you're really happy with where you're at, actually in 5 years' time that might completely
yeah,
change. It might stay the same. And if you're not happy with where you're at, just be really open and there is hope that
yeah,
that will change and probably quite quickly, and it really can do.
yeah.
So we've thought about kind of the underlying skills and qualities, and think about hard skills, but also soft skills, and I suppose how am I? What is my personality? What am I bringing to a team? How am I
Mm,
as a teammate? That's really important to think about, and in everything that you do, consider what are you gaining they're gonna help you be a better teammate, a
mm.
better, uh, I guess, person that an employer is going to want to be part of their team.
James, I think it's quite enlightening. You've used the term there about being a teammate,
Mm,
and I've got to say, I think that's a real mature approach. So much about an application is trying to say, show us your leadership qualities. Okay,
mm,
so any employers will often get a whole series of CVs of people trying to apply for courses and everything else, and everyone says they're going to be a leader. And the difficulty with it, I've got to say that if you're a manager and you're bringing a group of people together to deliver on a particular project or whatever it is,
mm.
um, if you have 12 people in the room and you've got 12 leaders, uh,
It's going to be a bit of chaos. It's going to be like The Apprentice.
it's going to be very, very, very tough. So there's clearly the time to take initiative and to be able to be persuasive and
Mm,
drive. There's certain elements of those skills that things like Duke of Edinburgh are great
mm.
in giving people an opportunity to lead from time to time. So I'm really not saying leadership's not worthwhile,
Yeah.
but actually the team being a team member, there'll be more time in the workplace, even sometimes where you've got people in positions of authority,
Mm,
where being a team member is more important to the end result of a particular
yeah.
project. So I would say that you can Google it and search it. There was someone called Belbin that did some research about roles within teams, and
Mm,
and he defines 8 different roles within a team. Um, one of the roles is in a resource investigator. So it says there's someone in there that looks at what the team needs and will go out and reach out and find out what you want. Another one is completer finisher. Yeah, a role of a completer finisher. My wife will tell you that I'm the worst completer finisher.
sounds like Erling Haaland. He's definitely a completed finisher.
He
Yeah.
definitely is a completer
As a
finisher.
United fan, it
Yeah,
breaks my heart to
yeah.
have to say that, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
But I would actually say if you're not aware of them, go and Google the Belbin team roles. Take a look at this little questionnaire. You can
Mm,
look at your preferential team role,
mm,
and it doesn't really matter what your own preference is. Just be aware of what the other roles are,
mm,
and see what is in there that lands and resonates with you.
mm,
Am I naturally that type of person?
mm.
Does that fit in with the way that I play the game? Embrace it. Go
Yeah.
name it and embrace that.
That's brought up a really important lesson, I think, that I perhaps actually hadn't thought we were going to come on to today, but the importance of being self-aware. And it's just
Yeah,
reminded me of something Kieran got us all to do got me to do when I started a phase is Clifton Strengths Finder, and it shows you like what your top 5 kind of personality strengths are,
yeah,
and we all know what each other's are as a team, and also people might be aware of things like Enneagram, but yeah, often going into the workplace, being self-aware of what your strengths are
yeah.
and where you might have blind spots
Yes.
is really important, and we'll probably come on to that a bit more in a bit.
And I think nowadays it's likely if you're looking at graduate recruitment
Mm,
roles, an employer is likely to get you to do some sort of testing nowadays.
mm,
Uh, uh, recruitment, development, and assessment centres will use psychometric testing.
mm,
Mostly they're done online now, and the feedback tools you get are brilliant. So
mhm,
I would embrace that, and don't fear. Oh, someone's asked me to do this questionnaire.
mm,
I'm seeding data into the dark side. You're not. It really is something where that you'd be asked to look at self-validation of those results and
yeah,
embracing them. But yeah, if some employer is going to get you to do some tests, they could be costing them 2, 3, 4, £500.
mm.
Learn from it, take it every time, and get your feedback on it. Yeah.
Brilliant. We're gonna move topics slightly on from kind of skills and qualities onto what do you think it means to be professionally resilient? And so we've obviously
Mm,
both been through changes and stuff in our careers, but what do you think it means to you to be professionally resilient? We speak about resilience a lot at Phase, but
mm,
I suppose
mm.
how do people prepare themselves for challenges and ups and downs in the workplace?
What emotional resilience really means in
Mm,
a workplace setting. I think around 20 years ago, when I was looking at some research, it was saying that around 1 in 4 people in the workplace
mm,
will have some issue around mental health that will present itself in the workplace within their lifetime. 20 years later, it's not 1 in 4 within their lifetime,
mm.
it's 1 in 4 within this year
Wow.
in the workplace.
Mm,
This is a dramatic change
mm,
that uh, we could say our employers better at dealing with mental health now than they were 10 years ago.
mm.
Some are, some aren't. So
Yeah.
that is definitely there. But the strains upon our mental resources have never been pushed more. And so a coaching part, I work sometimes with managers in a coaching setting, and it is inevitable within the first 4 or 5 sessions of coaching, we will talk
Mm,
about overwhelm and how, uh, really we get just our mind is so full of things around us that we can't deal with the next action because we are, our mind is revolving around with thoughts.
mm,
So, and some of you may have, had times in your life where you read this, you have a thought and it won't go away.
mm,
And there's this thing, rumination. We keep on dwelling on this thing. We wake up or we have a dark moment and there's something on our mind, and this thing just won't go away. And learning how to do a reset and break the cycle of repetitive thoughts, I believe, is one of the best um, health skills today one
mm.
can have. It's self-awareness again.
Yeah.
It's to recognize when my mind isn't serving me. My mind isn't working for me because I'm losing my concentration.
Mm,
I can't see a way forward, and it's because this keeps bouncing around. And many practices, and I'm sure you'll be familiar with them, and many other people listening to this will be familiar with them, but things, apps that we get on the phone, mindfulness apps
mm,
or whatever, um, I've used them. I absolutely use them. I advocate them, and in coaching, I talk to people about this. So the self-awareness and recognizing that, it is more likely than not we will have challenges
yeah.
where our mind is out of control and not serving us well.
Mm,
And anyone listening to this, I'm don't ever interpretate in this sort of, get yourself out of it, pull yourself up. There are scenarios where if we ruminate enough,
mm,
our mind can cause some chemical imbalances, and we need real help for it.
yeah.
Okay, we need real help, and um, but I'm saying it. Uh, in today's workplace, we have to have an ability to be aware of our own mind and how to make it work for us,
Mm,
recognize signs, and have strategies and developing those strategies. Another book out there, you may ask about favorite books, but I just thought of one now. It's quite old now, but it's a book written by a guy called Raj Persaud, and the book was called Staying Sane. And they basically the headline, you can Google it or use one of our new tools that we might talk about in a minute, and it'll give you a summary of this book. But what he's advocating is, everyone, whether you have a mental health condition or you have difficulties with mental health, it's everyone's job to work at staying sane.
mm,
It's got some little self-diagnostic stuff in it, but I looked at that book, and it's had about 3 editions. It's one of the most, given away books I've had.
mm,
So my copies of it, when I'm talking to people, they're not necessarily crippled by mental health, but I'm talking to them about the overwhelm and how they get their mind to work. I've given this book away more than any other book.
yeah. I think that's the point about rumination and that kind of revolving door of thoughts is really, really relevant for this because you can't function at work if you're stuck. You need to be able to move. Like if something goes wrong at work, you need to be able to move on from it,
Yeah.
and learn from it. And often when things go wrong and we step outside of our comfort zone, that's where the biggest learning comes from. But I think that's not just in terms of work. That's that idea of rumination and being stuck in stuff and being distracted
Yeah.
almost. I think that's something that comes up quite a lot and is maybe a symptom of our modern world that
Yeah.
I guess at work people can't switch off because your emails are on your phone. Um, we're used to a 24/7 news cycle or social media on our phones. It's quite easy to ruminate and fixate and get distracted
So
on things. And so,
yeah.
yeah, for people to be aware of that going into the
Yeah.
workplace and how they can manage that and
Yeah.
be able to focus actually.
Yeah.
Because obviously for work, focus is a really important skill actually in some senses. I
And
suppose the ability to
also,
focus.
James, I think developing the strategies. So,
Mm,
um, for anyone right now who's got, I don't know, A-level mocks around the corner,
mm,
you're looking at parts of the syllabus that you didn't even think you were supposed to be covering, and you just realize you can get asked some questions, and you look at a mock paper and you haven't got to that part of the syllabus, and you've got this deep sinking fear
mm,
that I haven't covered the topic and I'm going to get caught out and found out, and all the sort of things that plague us in preparing for this torturous assault course of A levels. If you are waking up at night and just something's going around in your head, the ability to simply say to yourself, "I'm noting that down." Have a pad, a piece of paper, whatever.
mm,
Write down what the issue is for you, and simply at that point, find the next step. And it might be ask teacher, ask me mate because he's got it cracked. Um, it doesn't matter what it is. You get hold of it and you name the next step so that you close it off
mm,
because you won't go back to sleep without it. If you have got a phone around, don't start looking at your messages. Go and find one of those apps there that will give you some calming, whatever, and breathing
mm,
exercise. And look, I do it. There's one by my bedside,
mm,
and I use those apps if I'm awake at night. And because I say to myself, what can I do about this at 5:30 in the morning?
mm.
I could get up and come into the office here and crack on with it,
Yeah.
or I can park up that situation. And I'm really not saying it's easy,
Mm,
but I'm saying it's strategy. But there's some things in life actually where it's go and talk to someone.
mm,
Yeah, the issue's a bit bigger.
mm.
That's round. Go and get someone to talk to.
Yeah. And so sometimes that might be finding that mentor or that coach in the workplace, or
Yeah,
might be someone outside of work
sure,
as well.
sure.
But yeah, so I think certainly for me, writing about problems, and when we often say that when we journal stuff, our thoughts go on a journey rather than going round in circles in
Yeah,
our head like we've talked about.
yeah,
But perhaps it's finding that person in the workplace, like professionally, that is like we've both spoken about the importance of mentors, or you
yeah,
in particular, but also just friends and family that you can trust to talk about challenges that you have. But I do wonder whether it's this fast-paced world that we live in. Actually, it's so easy to not tackle challenges because it's so easy to distract ourselves from
yeah,
challenges.
yeah,
And so because we don't maybe do what you say, like write down what the next step is, and then as soon as you actually come to the start of that day, tackle that next step. It's so easy to procrastinate, to go on our phones, to
yeah,
try and just tackle emails because it feels productive.
yeah,
And actually, we've not tackled perhaps the challenge or the thing that's worrying us, and we end up ruminating on it, and it becomes
yeah.
something that is quite big and difficult to deal with.
So back to professional resilience now in a workplace when we're doing our jobs, there will be an expectation any employer will have. We're going to
Mm.
deliver.
Yeah.
We're going to deliver, and of course, if we're getting a wage and we're part of a team and we've got projects to do, if we're not delivering, that can cause tensions and problems. So there's it's important we have strategy to deliver. But this little phrase we've used about next step,
Mm.
next step is actually a thing. Next step thinking
Mm.
is a thing.
Yeah.
So another book I'd throw out there. It's more than a book. It's actually a working mindset that's
Mm.
been more than 20 years. So there was an author of a book called by David Allen called Getting Things Done. It's probably 25, 30 years old, something like that. And I remember one weekend visiting the Lake District, and I was pretty overwhelmed. I had got about 35 open-ended projects.
That's a lot of projects.
35 open-ended projects, and I'd worked out that overwhelm happened at about number 30.
I can imagine. First, that's pretty impressive to get to
Yeah,
30 and
I was
be
absolutely blown
overwhelmed.
apart. Having said that, I'll tell you now, running my business, I have more than 130 projects open
Wow.
right now. So, what David Allen says about that
Mm,
is the mind is a great place for having thoughts, but not retaining thoughts.
mm,
So, what he advocates is from his martial arts, he says, have a mind like tranquil water, clear the mind. And in order to do that, you place all of your buckets of thoughts in retrievable places and
mm,
organized thoughts. So, Getting Things Done, it's a book that's available on Amazon. It'll be in a third edition, I think, now, 20 years on, probably updated to deal with some of the
mm,
more modern electronic communication methods.
mm,
But what he's advocating is organization, absolutely clinical organization of putting thoughts in the right place where we can retrieve them and act on them, even to the point of having a what he calls the weekly review.
mm,
And you have this scan. So he advocates there's a mental scan and he scripts this thing. And every week you go through the scan and you review. But the point, and you can read the
mm,
book and find out everything else. But my headline is the resultant behavior from the weekly review is what's my next step action
mm,
on all these things? What I'm actually going to do to move the dial forward. Forget
mm,
the overwhelm and the fact it's listed. He's got a lovely little bucket, which is the someday maybe file.
mm.
So you've been thinking about it for some time. It's great, but it's cluttering up space.
Yeah.
It's still relevant. You'd like to do that trip to Madagascar one day,
Mm,
but it's getting in the way.
mm,
But stick it in the someday maybe,
mm,
and within your review process, it will say, "Go and have a look in the someday maybe file." But it makes you bring priorities to the top of the table. Another working method is the power of three,
mm,
and it says this next week, as we go into the second week in November, what's the top three things next week by Friday you would like to have achieved?
yeah.
What's the top three? Now, as you get there on Monday, on Tuesday, on Monday, what's the top three things on Monday that will help you get to those top three? What are the top three things in the month of November that you would want to
Mm,
do? If you can do those things, you move the dial. It nails priority.
mm,
The top power of three. 2026, James, I challenge you to go away from this and think, what are the top three things in 2026? And what would that look like in Q1,
mm,
Q2, Q3,
mm,
January, March,
mm,
13th of February, before
mm.
Valentine's Day? Get your priorities right. You've got to,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm just going to reiterate that quote that you said. The mind is a great place for having thoughts, but a terrible place for retaining
yeah.
thoughts. Is that right? Have I got that?
Absolutely. And
Mm,
he was using the quote, and because the Getting Things Done it was a movement. There was people
mm,
training on it across 40 different countries, having big seminars. And I think it was
mm,
about getting things done.
mm,
And then people carried out some research projects and did looked at the minds of people and actually verified the underpinning research to prove what he knew
mm,
anecdotally from watching people in the workplace.
mm. I can't stress enough how much I agree with that advice around just managing your mind and keep making it a tranquil place. Like I think you use the metaphor of still waters, because I know certainly for me when I first started the phase, I had loads to learn. It was a big change from the job I've been doing previously. Actually, one of the things that a couple of people helped me out with loads was actually just staying on top of all the programs we were doing and just task management, time management. And I learned a lot quite quickly in that kind of area of just managing how am I keeping everything that I've got to do,
Yeah,
almost outsourcing my brain onto paper or a
yeah,
computer.
yeah,
And I think without that learning and being able to, yeah, just keep all my thoughts in order, keep my mind still, and kind of understand how to use, maybe it's a to-do list or notes or different things to retain the thoughts that I was having and the things that I was having to remember.
yeah,
I don't think I would have had the mental capacity to start to learn some of the new skills and go and face some of the new kind of professional challenges that
yeah.
I had. So I think that's really important.
And also, what I give example of 30 projects been overload and everything else, and I was really working as a consultant at that time in a business. But when I was running my own business, all of a sudden, um, I had to break 30
Mm.
because the circumstance demanded I had
Mm.
to deal with more projects. So I had to change my technique. I
Mm.
couldn't use the old tools. I had to find a more
Mm.
efficient way of doing things. And that is the more one progresses professionally
Mm.
uh, into jobs that become higher paid or of higher value or with more responsibility, it's more likely that you're then going to have more challenges on this,
Yeah.
keeping all the plates
Keep
spinning.
the plate spinning.
Do you need? I really advocate that now. If it was my younger self, it would learn that game of having strategies
Mm.
for organising and being disciplined
Mm.
far earlier.
And I think that the really important thing, probably just before we move on, about getting things done, is we're not talking about trying to do like 5 things at once and be chaotic. It's actually the opposite of that. It's being able to get the next most important thing done, and but also at the same time know what the next thing after
Yeah,
that is going to be, and
yeah.
not trying to hold it all at once.
Oh,
But
completely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're absolutely right there. And and David Allen says that
mm,
in the first paragraph
yeah,
of his book. It's not about doing more things.
mm,
It's been doing the
the
critical
thing.
things at
Yeah,
the right time.
yeah,
At the right time.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And just on that rule of 3 as well, sort of on the lines of setting goals for yourself. We spoke right at the start about this podcast about what is work, and I think one of the huge things that work is, hopefully for people, and unfortunately it isn't for some people, is it gives people purpose and meaning,
Yeah.
and hopefully fulfillment. And I think using something like the rule of 3 and regularly evaluating what your goals are professionally will help you to see whether there's fulfillment and purpose
Yeah.
and value it in the work, and maybe it's a good way of bringing about awareness in
Yeah.
that. We're going to move on to a slightly different topic, although along the same lines, and that is going to be thinking about adopting an attitude of learning for life, which I
Mm.
know is something that you're very passionate about, Rob. So could you elaborate on that a little bit? And it sounds like, I mean, you went from a music degree
Yeah.
to being in employment law, so learning for life
Absolutely.
sounds like something that you're very keen on.
Yeah, it is, and part of my career as well, I was working with training managers in
Mm,
management development. So I am biased.
mm,
I've got a background of people development and optimizing and evaluating training initiatives. So I recognise people are not necessarily going to see the world in the same way as me in that direction. But yeah, I did a music degree. Um, I I got a job in training. I was working in the warehouse. We talked about how do you get the transition? I was actually working in a warehouse, and it was a disaster. This particular thing. It was a new venture for a business, and they set up in London in Kensington High Street selling kitchens. But they didn't have any way of actually storing them, delivering them, and the logistics was forgotten. It was an absolute mess. Um, and out of this chaos, I was just working in this job, and I was a problem solver, and I got noticed as a problem solver. And they said, "Rob, we want you to sort out the logistic problems. It's a mess. Just go and sort it out." I said, "Well, I can't sort it. You can have whatever resource you like. We'll give you one of our warehouses. We'll
mm,
give you our people." And they sent me to East London to Grays, threw some keys at me, and there was this distribution center that was there. It was way outside my comfort zone. I'd never done anything like this before. I don't know why I was doing it. It made no sense at all. It's not what a musician would do. Um, but I just was doing this job, and the local area manager, he could see that I could organise some things. I was persuasive with some people. We got things done. We delivered. And he said, "Have you ever thought of taking a job with training? The head office have got this job, and they're looking for some training advisors." And I said, "What's the money like?" "No, well, it wasn't quite like it's well, you can have a company car, and
oh, sounds good.
we'll give you some training. We'll help you become a trainer." So in reality, I started looking about, well, what's the profession for training? Is it professional qualification?
Mm,
Can I become a trainer?
yeah.
And that's what happened. I became a trainer, then got involved in HR, employment law, um, got involved in management training, did a degree in evaluation of management training. There was a thesis that I had to put forward. The job was fantastic then. I'd been promoted 3 or 4 times. There were around 400 managers that went through a training program over 3 years. Those people became better managers.
Mm,
When I resigned from the organization to move on, they closed the switchboard down.
Mm.
There were people that I dealt with and helped them in the workplace that wanted to call me, and I mean, if they'd told me how great I was when I was there, I wouldn't have left. But it was a landmark change of impact something can have. It empowered me. I felt absolutely full of purpose
Mm.
for changing the way these people were managing. And then I ended up doing an employment law degree and tutoring on an employment law master's at university. So for me, the learning has been it's been interesting. It's given a sense of purpose, but I don't know. It's for me, it's about life.
Mm.
Learning to. I mean, talk about limitations. I
Mm.
I I was at school and I struggled with languages in a very big way. I struggled with languages. I learned a phonetic alphabet, and it put me behind. So my first year of secondary school, I was in remedial classes for everything
Mm.
because I'd failed all the tests. I basically couldn't read.
Yeah.
And through really good help and tutors, people, individual tutoring at the school, they taught me how to read and write. But I've got a phobia in myself about I'm not very good at education. So I think the reason learning's big for me is I'm making up for lost time
Mm.
in part. I'm making up for lost time. Um, but yeah, I mean, learning even. I mean, I learned to fly a light aircraft and fly
Wow.
planes, and so, yeah, I've had some fantastic life experiences of being in the air over
Mm.
parts of the world
Wow.
that I've travelled.
It sounds to me like an attitude of learning for life is all about never staying in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's about you're not just, I don't know, getting to your mid-20s, your mid-30s, wherever it is. You've got the job that you planned that you wanted or decided that you wanted, and just decide that that's enough for me. I'm there. It sounds like you've continually stepped out of your comfort zone over and over again, and that's helped you to grow, helped you to learn, and even helped you to fly a plane. That's incredible. Um, we're going to move on to our final kind of main topic for today, which is going to be all around what have you noticed change in the last? I mean, we could give you any window of time here,
Yeah.
I suppose, but perhaps in the last 5 years or so, and particularly around technology and even now, very recently, AI as well. And
Yeah.
what should maybe young people be aware of that they can utilize, but also be cautious of about technology in the workplace?
James, I think it's absolutely amazing. The changes that we've been brought by technology is radically changing the world of work, and it's brilliant. I'm absolutely a adopter of technology. I use it daily. I use it daily. But I want to put some perspective on it because it's not always been like it is now.
Mm.
And I think you're absolutely right to point towards some of the tools that we can access right now. We can go to a computer over there,
Mm.
are not necessarily going to be beneficial for us.
Mm.
Okay, so absolutely
Yeah.
right. There's some caution around it. But in terms of a time frame, well, in fact, I'll start. I think it's really important to get a grip on this about defining data and information,
Mm.
right? And it all for me stems around this. So, data is simply numbers, stuff. It doesn't mean anything. It is just literally little points of uh, stats or numbers.
Mm.
Information is where data's been given meaning.
Mm.
Okay. And they're not the same thing.
Mm.
We can throw data around, we can get tools to work as Python is working with um, language converted into numbers and clusters of numbers to make meaning within algorithms of the written word, to use the text-based ones. It is simply data that's been manipulated at the speed of light in a way which is that it's remarkable. So
Mm.
speed, the new ways of technology are all about speed.
Mm.
Every advantage is with speed. But if we take around the year 2000, we had a scenario where the search engine first came around. You had things actually like Ask Jeeves and Bing was there, Microsoft, but Google was not the automatic
Mm.
front runner. And Google for a long time did not make any money. Absolutely did not make any money. And people were saying, what's the point of this search engine thing?
Mm.
What is it about? And of course, it was a fantastic data collecting tool.
Mm.
And when all of a sudden there was value attached to trends, to what people were searching for, what people wanted, what people were thinking, whether there was purchasing intention, this tool became something that was worth having.
Mm.
And I mean, anyone listening to this can Google around the aspects of customer choice and data and the early use of um, marketing using data information. And um, so what changes then is the access of the interface, the user interface changes. 2007, I queued for the first iPhone in Oxford Street. I was there, I got one, um, radically changing the fact that in your hand you could check your emails, you could get some web access. It wasn't really very good, but you could do it. But all of a sudden, your portal for this had changed.
Mm.
The iPad, a watch we might be wearing, a TV that we're watching nowadays. All of this is accessing this data world that's there, and so we then arrive at this land of Google search, the information from Google being very valuable for marketers and Google Analytics. And if people are interested in that sort of marketing career and everything else, you'll see how analytics are used
Mm.
in the workplace. And AI has, if we take, I mean, it's more than just ChatGPT. Obviously there's graphic interfaces and there's closed information platforms for it. So different sort of things. So a the software itself is phenomenally quick and can do remarkable things. But, come to the but, it's only as good as what we ask it to do
Mm.
and the prompts that we have.
Mm.
So there are real jobs out there. Employers have got jobs for prompt generator.
Wow.
It's a real thing,
Yeah.
okay? Prompt generation is becoming a thing, and it it really radically changes the results. So there's lots of people that will use something like a chat GTP to just talk to it really and have a little bit of a chat and not really work the tool. That's true of every tool. Excel spreadsheets are phenomenal tools, but 90% of users only use 10% of the tool.
Mm.
Okay. The same is true today of the way AI is working. So I see there was an article in the news yesterday saying that the school curriculum needs to consider about AI and how to be discerning and look at fake news.
Mm.
This thing that the pace of change has been so rapid, universities haven't been able to keep up. We had exams coming around. It was that the universities had to have a code of practice on how you would quote AI.
Mm.
Um, so it can be a useful tool, but it's what you ask it to do.
Mm.
The discernment in, is this likely to be true, is the biggest question we can ask ourselves.
Yeah.
So when I use AI, quite often I use it for speed and I know what I'm looking for. And I want AI to return to me sources that I will recognize. But I know the sources I recognize.
Mm.
So I don't step into the dark and literally say, tell me an answer to this. When I first used it, I used to say, and please give me your sources, identify the sources, and then I would challenge it and say, how accurate is that source?
Mm.
What about a source that I knew was contrary? And I'd throw it in,
Mm.
and I would challenge AI to debate with itself
Yeah.
and do things like that. Fascinating to do that. I think because I'm a learner. There's sometimes I use AI, and I'm quite freely just wanting to literally experiment with something. What can I how many ways can I cook this particular recipe? I've got my barbecue here. What's the best way to use my rotisserie? And yeah, I'll do that because that's fun and life. But for work, I would never rely on AI's output for something I would publish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think some of the big key headlines from that is when you're using AI, be really careful with it in that, check your sources. Also, I think in the work, there's obviously a professional responsibility when you're in the workplace to be careful about not just what information you're getting from AI, but also what you're sharing with it.
Well,
So if you've
data
got
speed,
data, exactly, if
data
you're,
stealing. Yeah.
particularly when we use AI at Phase, obviously when we're thinking about the young people we might be working with, and when you've got
Yeah,
clients, it's really important
yeah,
to be aware of that,
yeah,
and actually what data, what information you're
yeah.
giving to AI, and not just what it's given to you. But then also we know that tools like AI are really powerful, and so the learning curve is really important to learn how to use them because
Let's break that down a little bit more then. So I said at the start that AI was not just about the text-based thing.
Mm,
Um, when I look at Photoshop and I've taken a photograph, and in the old days, I used to go around and take the background out or clone something and everything else. The ability to swipe my finger on my iPad and get rid of
mm,
I mean, I got excited about it. It was like fantastic. But there are other things in AI. But for our clients, when I was first going on courses to look at the potential ways of AI, there were significant HR impacts.
mm,
There were significant impacts on how AI tools could be used in recruitment and monitoring the workplace. And they were potentially full of minefields. But also, there was my clients that we'd suddenly become in a world where a number of my clients were dealing with confidential information
mm,
or intellectual property and proprietary knowledge that was vital to their business. And inadvertently, they could have employees who the company didn't have a policy on it, but it was readily accessible. So people would tap in their work-based problems, place it into AI, and make this knowledge now in an open source platform. And there was a very famous issue from Motorola. It was the first real big uh, a banana skin where some employees were working on a particular intervention, and they published the whole thing and gave their competitors the ability to find their software was actually by code was listed out and given to their
mm,
competitors, and they lost control. And then the workplace was suddenly saying, hey, you've got to be careful about what you put in it. But in the recruitment side, with the tools that are CV scanners,
mm,
so you can, for about $10, get 100 CVs summarized and scanned. And there's a big moral question about automated decision making. And this has
mm.
been true of all data.
Yeah.
Data protection covers this. So that we shouldn't have automated decisions being made about people getting access to finance or access to the workplace
Yeah.
solely on an
Mm,
algorithm. And then there's other software which can look at lie detection. So you'd have remote interviews on a Zoom platform, whatever, and you'd be questioning someone, and the software would begin at eye tracking and pauses and changes in speech, and analyzing this and giving percentage chances someone was saying the truth or not. So it becomes a little bit sort of on the dark side of what
mm,
this thing they can do. Um, Potentially, there's tools that can be used on uh, keyboards, cameras, looking at whether people are working or not. Absolutely frowned upon. It's
mm,
not to be done in the UK, but potentially we're in a world where the ability to collect the data is almost unlimited,
mm,
and we are giving this data away.
mm.
You know, Alexa, tell me this. We've got microphones
Yeah.
there. Well, so have some care, have some thought.
Mm,
But my headline is absolutely explore AI,
mm,
see what it can do for you, and look under the bonnet.
mm,
Go on YouTube and look at the people that are saying what are the 25 AI applications at the moment that can ramp up your knowledge. Go and take a piece of it and have a look.
mm,
Just it might be not for now. Just explore it. Have
mm.
an open mind for it.
We got onto the topic of AI, but we were speaking about learning for life, and I think this is why learning for life is really
Yeah,
important because AI is constantly changing,
yeah,
and so I think the headline from what we've just discussed is for young people going into work is just be really aware and be keen to learn about AI,
mm,
just to keep yourself safe, but also to be able to use it as a really powerful tool because there are pitfalls, but there are also real strengths to be using AI. Rob, we're just going to bring the podcast into land now, and I just want to give you a space just to share like any final thoughts or last words to a young person that might have listened to today's episode and be about to go into university or the world of work or an MVQ or apprenticeship.
I'm going to actually trace back to a thought in 2007 when I set up my own business. And one of my mates said to me, Rob, how do you feel about it? And I said, I'm excited and scared witless at the same time. And I would think actually sometimes that's a good place to be.
Mm.
The workplace can be a really exciting place to be. It's going to be full of opportunity, full of unknowns. I don't know what the workplace is going to look like in 2030, 2040, 2050. It won't look like it. I mean, I explained 2000, 2007, where it's going to look very, very different. Embrace it, get hold of it, and enjoy it.
Rob, thank you so much for your time today. It's been brilliant.
You're welcome, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Cheers. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Phase podcast. Please take a moment to leave a rating, as we love hearing your feedback. Subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode, and follow us on social media at Phase Hitchin. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you in the next episode.